We're back, fresh off our 100th episode. Sin City Beat is back and better than ever. This time we're breaking down the biggest topics facing Raider Nation. Don't go anywhere. Sin City Beat starts right now.
From Las Vegas, this is Sin City Beat.
Hello and welcome to Sin City Beat. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. I'm your host, Mike Davis. Sin City Beat is the show that dissects the Vegas sports world through the eyes of the sports reporters and storytellers leading the charge. Joining the action on the panel today, we have Ryan McFadden, Raiders beat reporter for ESPN, Levi Edwards, digital reporter for the Raiders, and Q Myers with ESPN Las Vegas and Raider Nation Radio. So it's great to have all you guys with us. Let's dive right in. So the finalists for the Raiders head coaching position seem to be, or the favorites right now, according to Ryan McFadden's tweet from earlier this morning, is Clint Kubiak, Davis Webb, Joe Brady, just to name a few. Now I'm curious how you guys would grade the hirings of some of these remaining candidates. So Levi, what grade would you give, for instance, Clint Kubiak, fresh off that great performance from the Seahawks last night? Tell us, if they hired Clint Kubiak, OC with Seahawks, head coach now for the Raiders, if that were to be the hire, what grade would you give that?
Honestly, that's the best grade that I would give any of these candidates.
Really?
I'm not trying to push a narrative towards any candidate that may or may not get hired, but I personally love Clint Kubiak. I would give him an A out of all the candidates that I would say the Raiders are considering, just because of the fact that A, he has offensive coordinator experience, B, he's about to coach in the Super Bowl, which is pretty much as much, validation as you need to give anybody, and also the fact that he comes from a really good coaching tree. His father, Gary Kubiak, is a Super Bowl champion himself, so he really has everything that you would want out of a candidate, plus the fact that he's young. He has a new philosophy with how he wants to, coach offenses in the modern NFL. And considering he might be able to get his quarterback as well, kind of like the things he's done with Sam Darnold, I think he could do here in Vegas with potentially Mendoza. So I think it's an A+ hire. Okay,
so we all know Kubiak definitely has that pedigree. Now coming up, we're going to be doing predictions. So don't give us your predictions. I just want to know the hirings, the grades you would give some of these hirings. Let's just go to another one. Davis Webb, Q. I know that's a guy you've been heavy on all off-season long. He looked pretty good, working with Jarrett Stidham in a tough weather game with the Broncos. Quarterback coach there, what would you give that grade if he came to the Raiders?
I think he gets a solid B. Maybe even an A-. He's a young talent. He's a guy that is well respected across the National Football League. He's a guy that Sean Payton was so high on, decided that, hey, he's about to get to the airport now. Let's make sure he turns it around and comes back so we can hire him, gave him a headset immediately as a quarterback coach there. And he's got he's a guy that comes from, his dad was a high school coach, and so he learned a lot from him. He's just been very well respected. The fact that the Buffalo Bills are interested in him as well lets you know that it's not just, maybe the Raiders are the only team that's crazy enough to hire him. I think Davis Webb is a really good option. If it's not Kubiak, I think Webb would be great.
Would your Kubiak grade be similar to
Yeah,
Levi?
for sure. For sure. He's very adaptable with his quarterbacks. He did stuff in Minnesota with quarterbacks, looked really good. Did things even with Derek Carr in New Orleans, looked really good. And now you saw what he's done with Sam Darnold. So I think that if you have a guy and you want him to work with a certain quarterback, Kubiak would be option A for me. But Davis Webb would be close behind.
Okay, Davis Webb played at Texas Tech, was a third-round draft pick, bounced around a little bit as a backup quarterback in the NFL. Ryan, what about Joe Brady? Let's talk about the offensive coordinator with the Bills. He called up a pretty good game, I felt, in that playoff loss. If he were the guy here that got the ultimate job at the end of the day, what grade would you give him?
I'll give that grade a B+. I think if we're going through the three candidates we're talking about, Clint Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, that'll probably be my ranking, where I'll go Clint first as an A+ hire, Joe Brady be a B+, Davis Webb be around a B on that end as well. But when you look at someone like Joe Brady, the last 2 seasons, the Buffalo Bills have been one of the best offenses in the league. It helps that they do have an MVP under center in Josh Allen. They have one of the best running backs in the league in James Cook, and the way he is, he's called plays for that offense and pretty good. And I think it would be a strong hire because he's had experience working with good quarterbacks. Like you said, Allen, you go back to even his time back when he was working at LSU, helping Joe Burrow coach. So he has experience bringing in has experience working with quarterbacks and seen strong quarterback play. So I think I would give that grade a B. And you hit on it well. I thought the game he called against the Denver Broncos is, to me, still one of the best, if not the best defense in the National Football League, despite losing an AFC Championship game. He had them on their toes, and I know guys down on that team that gave him credit that, you know, Joe Brady schemed up a good game against them. So I don't think it would be a bad hire. I would have Clint Kubiak, that A+ grade, as Levi said, but it wouldn't be. I think Joe Brady would be a B, and I think that wouldn't be a bad hire.
Okay. All right. Well, it looks like the panel's definitely in love when it comes to grading with Clint Kubiak. But next up, it's prediction time for the panel. Who will the Raiders ultimately hire? That's when Sin City Beat returns.
You're watching Sin City Beat.
Welcome back to Sin City Beat. Well, it's prediction time for the panel. Who will be the next head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders? Ryan, I want your prediction right off the top. Tell us who will ultimately get this job.
Dun, dun, dun.
I think it's going to end up being Davis Webb.
You really do?
I think that's my prediction. That's my prediction right now. If I'm wrong, I'm willing to admit that admit that I'm wrong. But you know, he's a coaching candidate on the rise, someone who I think down the road will be a head coach at some point. And I think the Raiders may see this as an opportunity, you know, to get out ahead and bring him in the building. And you have to. I think the key is if they do lean towards a Davis Webb, who I'm predicting, it's going. I think the DC hire, the OC hire, that's going to be critical for him. I think you have to explore the possibility of Davis Webb bringing someone like a Cliff Kingsbury, the former Commanders offensive coordinator, former Arizona Cardinals head coach. In addition to that, Jim Leonard is another guy who's the defensive backs coach for the Denver Broncos. If he's able to bring those two guys in, you're in a good spot for the Raiders. And the biggest reason is the idea of, I believe Davis Webb is really good with quarterbacks. We've seen what he's done, the work he's done in terms of helping Bo Nix develop into, to me, one of the best quarterbacks in the AFC.
Right.
And this is someone who's like in 2 seasons has had the Broncos on the cusp of a Super Bowl. And with Davis Webb running that quarterbacks room. So yeah, I think, and we're looking at the idea the Raiders got the top pick of the draft, most likely be Fernando Mendoza. It kind of makes sense there. You bring in someone who can help develop your quarterback and make sure that, you know, Fernando Mendoza or whoever that ends up being, you know, he develops into a franchise quarterback.
All right, that makes a lot of sense. Levi, what about you? Your prediction for this?
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, I mean, obviously, if the Raiders have the time and the patience to wait just a little longer, I think Clint Kubiak would probably be the best option. However, I'm not sure what their timeline is. I don't know if they want to hire somebody before the Super Bowl. So if they are going to go with somebody and they want to make that decision right now, it's probably going to be between Mike LaFleur or Davis Webb, as you said. It's still kind of wild to me, considering Davis Webb was in college when me and you were in college, and now he might be a head coach of an NFL team.
Right.
But he's young. He's done a lot of great things with Bo Nix. He has actual NFL experience playing as well as coaching, and also John Spytek, our general manager, he spent a lot of time in Denver. He has a lot of ties still with guys in that building, so he knows what he's capable of just off of hearsay and off of relationships. So I think Davis Webb would be a good option, as well as Mike LaFleur, who's also coming off of the NFC Championship game loss. So I think one of those two would be good, but it really just depends on timing and patience.
Okay, Mike LaFleur, OC with the Rams. Of course, his brother's Matt LaFleur. Real quickly, just to follow up with you, we've seen, though, coordinators get, head coaching jobs solidified during the week prior to the Super Bowl. So why would you think Kubiak has just said he's not going to deal with anything until after the Super Bowl? Is that why you're saying that?
Well, I'm just saying,
to be more patience?
I'm just saying that just in the sense of if the Raiders want to make a hire now, obviously you're going to have to wait about another week, 2 weeks for you to get Clint Kubiak because he's about to coach
you'd
the
have
Super
to wait,
Bowl.
but you could still interview.
So you could
still do follow-up.
You could still do that, but you'd have to have him for a for sure thing, especially when there's so many other jobs that are still available, like we talked about with the Bills. Head coaching opportunities and the Browns, and there's a lot of other variables. So if that's your guy, you need to make sure you have a sign of confidence to lock him down. Otherwise, you have to go in a different direction.
Okay, yeah. 4 current head coaching openings. There was 10 in total during this offseason, but Bills, Browns, Cardinals and Raiders. So cue your prediction at the end of the day.
I've thought it's the whole time it's going to be Kubiak or Davis Webb. And, with Kubiak, to Levi's point, you have to wait, about 13 days or so before you can actually sign him to a deal. You can have a verbal agreement, but,
right.
A verbal agreement could change really quickly. If they lose in the Super Bowl, it's really close. He might want to decide he wants to run it back. Then all of a sudden, what are you doing? So I kind of lean towards Davis Webb as being the front runner. The Raiders also have Denver Broncos ties in their front office. So there are already plenty of guys, including John Spytek, who know what that building's all about. So I just kind of look at Davis Webb, and I think the Raiders will hire him and make him maybe a year early, as opposed to, well, now we want to go get him and he's got a hot name and everybody wants him. You know what I mean? Similar to what the Rams did with Sean McVay. They got him a little bit probably before he was ready to be the head coach per se, but they got him and knew that if we don't get him now, we're not going to get him. So I think it's going to be Davis Webb. I actually think Brian Daboll is going to be the OC, just my opinion. I think that he needs that, to Ryan's credit, that they need that strong guy that's kind of already been there, done that, like a Kingsbury or a Daboll. And Daboll's got really good ties with Brady as well, just like Cliff Kingsbury does. So I think that's going to be the 1-2 punch: Davis Webb and Brian Daboll.
Okay, a lot of interesting, good stuff, a lot of insight there. And coming up, we got even more. We're going to be talking Mendoza, of course. You got to talk about this dude, especially on this gem. Look at that play right there. It still gets me fired up. Did the national champ and Heisman Trophy winner solidify himself as the top pick? Or could there be some red flags potentially? We're breaking it down after these words. Fernando Mendoza. Is he the savior the Raiders franchise needs? Q. I'm curious. Did Mendoza, in your mind, lock up the top pick with his performance in the national championship game? Is there anything that you think is potentially a red flag when it comes to him as well?
To be honest, I think he locked up the number 1 pick before the national championship game. I think it was already kind of set in stone that he was going to be that guy. One, it's supply and demand. There's not a lot of supply and there's a ton of demand for the quarterback position. Also, I think he's just a really good quarterback, and I think he's going to have an opportunity to improve. He's got the size. He's got the arm talent. He's athletic enough. And I think Tom Brady's going to like him a lot, right? I think that there's a lot to like about that pairing, Tom Brady and Fernando Mendoza. And it's so funny. I hear a lot of conversation about, well, the Raiders aren't ready for a quarterback. They're not ready. Okay, well, were the Patriots ready when they drafted Drake May? I would say no. They went 4-13. All they did is went and spent a whole lot of money in free agency the next year. Look, they went 4-13. He played 13 games his rookie year, 15 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. It wasn't great. But the next year, they go out, ball out. They have a great offensive line. They have weapons. They have the right coach in place. Now they're going to the Super Bowl. Not saying that that's the path that the Raiders are going to take, but if you have a chance to go get your quarterback and you're a franchise that hasn't had your franchise quarterback since Derek Carr got sat down and with no real plan on how to replace him, you go get your guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how in the National Football League, just getting your quarterback, getting your head coach, it covers up so many blemishes. It can turn around a
Look
franchise.
At Buffalo. That organization, it looks like it stinks, but the ultimate deodorant's been Josh Allen. Right? He's been the ultimate deodorant, and Sean McDermott as well. Now all of a sudden they look like they went from being a serious organization to for entertainment purposes only in like a matter of a week.
Yeah, it's true. Ryan, right now covering this team for ESPN, I mean, Mendoza's going to be bread and butter for all of us on this panel to talk about in the future. Are you in love with this guy? Do you think that, kind of give us a feeling about him, because he's not in that Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning category coming out of college, but he's not also, getting even the fanfare of a Trevor Lawrence, it seems like to me. So do you feel like there's some red flags from the media or from NFL front offices that we're not maybe as fans thinking about?
I think probably the biggest red flag for me is, I think from a performance standpoint, I think you go back to that national championship game, I think there were times when you watch that game where he can do a better job at sensing pressure, and when defenders are getting close to him, he took a lot of hits in that game. And granted, so that's one that Miami defense is pretty good.
Yeah.
But like being able to sense pressure, that's going to be. I think that's going to be getting better at sensing pressure. That's going to be key for him. Outside of that, I can't envision a scenario in which they don't take Fernando Mendoza at this point. Yeah. It's just like the Raiders need a quarterback. They swung and missed multiple times on, bringing in a veteran, whether it's free agency or trade. We, thought Geno Smith was the answer, and going into the season, it seemed like it was, but he ended the season with the most interceptions in the National Football League. You have to get your guy. You have to bring in someone that you believe can be here for years to come. And also, too, the important part is this. You draft Fernando Mendoza, you have a starting quarterback on a rookie contract. Mm-hmm. So that gives you the opportunity to use your resources to build around him.
Right.
This is if people, the fact is with the Raiders, they are in a rebuild mode. This is not a situation where we bring in Matthew Stafford and boom, we're going to the Super Bowl. That's not that situation. Even when they brought in Pete Carroll and Geno Smith, realistically,
the evaluation was wrong.
Yes, they were not. This organization was not there for a Geno Smith, Pete Carroll type of partnership to get you over the top. There are so many holes on the roster. So you have to look at that. And I think Fernando Mendoza, the benefit of him is that I think he's NFL ready. So he gives you a greater chance for him to start week 1 if you bring him in the building. But the biggest thing is not only just the talent, which he clearly has, but bringing in a quarterback on a rookie deal that gives you the opportunity to invest in the offensive line, invest in playmakers, add another running back to pair with Ashton Genty, maybe add another tight end as well. And then you're also able to spend money on the defense side of the ball. That's, to me, is the key right there. And when you even look at the head coaching candidates, you're probably, let's say they do lean towards a Clint Kubiak or a Davis Webb, those are first-time head coaches. So all signs are pointing to a rebuild process in Las Vegas. And the biggest key to jumpstarting a rebuild is drafting a quarterback. Yeah. And that's the opportunity they're in right now, and that's what they should do.
And we've seen, what the Bears did with, Caleb in year 2. We were talking a little about this, when the cameras were off. But, they invested in that O-line. They spent all their, money, made some free agency moves, made some trades. So that's the way to kind of evaluate needs for a growing franchise, getting that quarterback. But from your estimation, Levi, I know you're a big college football guy. I just feel like maybe Mendoza's not getting the same level of hype that I anticipated he would. So if there were a red flag out there, do you think that, what could it be in your mind? If there was a red flag, and I think some people, you're laughing because I think you're going to say what I'm thinking.
You know what I'm about to say, man.
Is he too Jared from Subway? Well, I shouldn't say Jared from
Please
Subway.
Please don't say Jared from Subway, dog.
But is he just like, corny? In a sense.
Yeah, no,
is that why you're smiling?
Yes, that's why I'm smiling, Matt, Mike. Okay, well, first, let's be honest. None of us were expecting Indiana to win a national championship. Right. I don't think any of us actually are, have been able to come down with understanding how much of a turnaround this is in the terms of college football. In terms of the talent they have,
the losingest program,
people
history.
Just still can't comprehend the fact that Indiana is national champions and Mendoza played well. If anybody doesn't like Mendoza, it's because of his personality, because they think he's a cornball and he's kind of media trained. But I'm telling you,
is that a red flag?
For some people, yeah. But I promise you, as someone who's legitimately from the South, I have a lot of friends who are from South Florida. Those are some different people. They are some dogs. I don't care how he acts in front of a camera. Yeah. He's from South Florida. He's a dog. And he proved that in the national championship game against Miami with the amount of hits that he took. And, shout out New Edition. Sunny days, everybody loves him. Can you stand the rain? He stood in that pocket. He stood the rain. He hopped into that end zone. Wow. He made plays when it mattered. I think he's a dog. He might act a certain way in front of the cameras, in front of the media, but I'm telling you, he has it in him. He proved it.
Listen, that's a very clippable quote right there, Levi. We'll just cut out the Jared from Subway part.
Yeah, please.
We'll make sure we don't say that. All right, guys, the Super Bowl is set. What can the Raiders take away from the Patriots and the Seahawks' success? The panel shares their thoughts when Sin City Beat returns. All right, welcome back to Sin City Beat. Mike Davis here with you. So in 2 weeks, we're going to see the Seahawks and Patriots take on each other in the Super Bowl. Now, what can the Raiders learn from the success of both of those teams? We can break that down, but I also just want to know what you guys think prediction-wise. So, Levi, if you have anything to say just about what the Raiders can take away, share that quickly, but most importantly, I want a prediction.
Well, really, I mean, everything that you guys already said. I mean, look at what the Patriots did. They had a whole bunch of cap space. They had bread. They spent it. They went and got their O-line. They went and got their quarterback. They went and got their coach, and now they're in the Super Bowl. So really, the rebuild is not as difficult as what people try to assume it is.
Yeah.
If I had to make a prediction in the Super Bowl, I actually am from the same hometown as Drake May. I went to high school with his older brothers, so I'm pretty tight with the family. So I would say, personally, I'm kind of going for the Patriots, but Seahawks is probably going to win.
Okay.
Yeah, he done took all our time.
We got 20 seconds. All right, so we got Seahawks. What do you think?
I think it's Seattle. I think Seattle's going to get the dub.
What
yeah.
about you?
I'm going Seattle as well.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I think everybody's in unison here, just like they were with Kubiak. I'm going Seattle as well. We'll see what happens. There's going to be a lot of chatter with this head coaching cycle in the next few days, so stay tuned. Thank you, Q. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Levi. I'm Mike Davis. We'll see you next time here on Sin City Beat.